absolutely anyone. You can meet different persons on the call, and this is a very good chance to collaborate and work with other persons that are interested in the same things that you love to do. Okay, thank you, Praise. You can proceed to share.
Hello, everyone. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Can you hear me clearly?
Hi, good evening. Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So my name is Praise Ogunleke, and I'm joining in from Ogbomoso in Nigeria, um, land of city of great men. Um, One thing I would like to change about the world is to democratize opportunities. I'd love to make opportunities accessible to everybody, regardless of their age, their gender, their status, their social caste, regardless of religion and all those factors. It's something I would really, really love to change. I feel like a lot of people deserve opportunities, but they are denied some of those opportunities because of some of these factors, right? Like for instance, there are opportunities that Africans have, or let me say the black people are denied because they are black. So I love to change all of those things. My superpower, I would say, uh, I would say, is the way I think. I feel like that would be my my superpower, the way I think. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you so much for sharing. That's that's quite interesting. Okay, I'll quickly read some responses from the chat box. Thank you, Ido, for your response. So, uh, is this a he or her? So, Ido Ibitayo is joining in from Akure, Ondo State, and would love to solve the problem of electricity in our community or his community through bioelectricity. We also have Favor Kayode from the University of Ibadan, Nigeria. And Favor says that his superpower is not limited to creative writing and storytelling. He's also a change maker and climate action advocate and would love to influence people's attitude towards the earth and social responsibility. Awesome. That is really nice. I can still see some hands. All right, Oluwafemi, you can share with us where you're joining in from. Thank you so much.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the privilege. I'm Oluwafemi Hamza, and so okay, sorry. One of the things that I'm so sorry. I have to mention my name. Okay, I'm joining from Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, Ogbomoso in Nigeria, and so talking about what I would like to or the change I would love to make in my environment, my community. I actually want to ignite leadership spirit in the mind of everybody around me and in my community, because I realize that basically people's decision in this part of the world are dependent on their stomach infrastructure. Like people makes decision, sensitive to their needs, whereas it's supposed to be about the solution they want to create. So people are really carried away by their wants, by their needs, regardless of whatever the outcome is. Hello, can I still be heard, please?
Yes, loud and clear.
All right. So I really want to, as much as possible, to ignite that leadership spirit in the heart of everyone, that regardless of whatever it is, your the best contribution you can ever make to yourself is in making it into the people. All right. So thank you so much. And I also want to appreciate, I think I have some of my friends on this call, and Messi Alime, Covenant. It's so nice to see you guys. Praise. I can't mention it. I have most of my friends here. All right. Thank you so much for the privilege.
Thank you so much, Femi. Thanks for sharing. And really, that was very, very insightful. In fact, I think I'm inspired. Thank you so much for sharing. Moses. Moses is from Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, and his superpower is the way he relates and networks with people. So I can guess that Moses is a sharpshooter. So I'm looking forward to you meeting a lot of persons on the call today. And he wants to shape the younger generations by ensuring quality health and education, promoting self-confidence in children, and rehabilitating the affected minds, those who have been through difficult experiences, and to ensure growth and well-being in our world. Wow, that is massive. All right. We also have Olawumi in the chat box. Please, I hope you are looking forward to these persons that are introducing themselves. Wow. Olawumi from OAU Teaching Hospital College of Nursing Sciences, and she would like to work on the number one SDG goal, which is no poverty. She says that the rate of poverty is too high, and there will definitely be poor people, but it should not be as much as it is. So she would love to end the problem of poverty, and her superpower will be the way she thinks. Wow, the chat box is getting really interesting. I also have a response from Adedoja Adewale joining in from Ibadan. And her superpower is a strength, and she believes that she is emotionally strong more than most people. Wow, really nice. And one thing that she would like to change about the world is that governments should understand that entrepreneurs are builders of the economy, and that if they can focus on building a conducive environment for businesses to thrive, they will be improving the lives of everyone in the country. Oh, really, really, really nice. Thank you, Joy, for your response. So, Joy Akondi is joining in from Oluwatosin. Please, if you can hear me, kindly mute your mic. Joy Akonde is joining in from Ogbomoso, and she believes that her superpower is a smile, and she would love to see children and adolescents get quality education needed to change their world. Oh, wow, that makes two of us that are passionate about education. And yeah, wow, we have many hands, many more hands, many persons that would like to introduce themselves. All right, so I'll just call these three. Okay, two rather. I've called Femi already. So please, as brief as you can, just share your name, where you're joining in from, your superpower, and one thing that you love to change about the world. So Covenant, you can proceed.
All right. So good evening. I want to believe I'm very audible, right? Okay.
Yes, you are.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. So yeah, it feels so good to be here. Good evening, everyone. So my name is Covenant Odedele from University of Ibadan, Nigeria. And I think one thing I'm very passionate about. Well, there are a couple of things I'm very interested about, but the consummation of it all is the fact that I just want to rewrite the Nigerian narrative. There's just so much that Nigeria can become, and we have not unbundled. And to be privileged to witness that, and yeah, that's like the apex of my passion, at least for now. Yeah. So, and what is my superpower? I was thinking about that, and I think I'll just say probably, not probably. It has to be because I'm a visionary. That's a superpower in itself. I can articulate certain things in certain ways that I myself am amazed that I can do this in this way. So it has to be that I'm a visionary. I consider that a very big superpower because probably maybe not everybody can do that, and it's just a privilege to be able to do that. So yes, thank you very much, and I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to a nice time. Learning here tonight.
Thank you so much, Covenant. Okay, so I think we can still keep our introductions rolling in. I hope you're already looking forward to persons that you want to connect with, because like I said earlier on, persons on this call are not ordinary people. I mean, for you to be on this call, it means that you are one, very intentional about your growth, and you want to learn how to give back to the society and also build the ideas that you have. So I think we'll have to pause on the introductions for now, because if you can check the list of participants carefully enough, we have our facilitator with us. Okay, so before I proceed to introduce her properly, I would like us all to go in the chat box and with a rush of your favorite emojis, can you just say welcome, ma'am, and say thank you for joining us tonight? Can you do that? I love to see the energy in this room. Can we go now? I love to see the energy in this room. Can we go now? Okay, so yeah, thank you so much, Fumilayo. Thanks for welcoming her. Thank you. Yes, 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 we can do more. We can do more. Please send in your favorite emojis and say welcome, ma'am. Thank you so much. You're welcome, ma'am. I'm super pumped to have you here tonight because I know that we are in for a wonderful time. I know that tonight we'll learn how to move from ideation, execution.
Dad, ṣé o fẹ́ tán ni? Báwo?
As much as possible, please mute your mics. We all want to have a wonderful time today, so please mute your mic. Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll be going right into the business of the day, and very briefly, I'll be reading the citation of our speaker. Yeah, so please get your notepads and pens ready because, like I said earlier on, you are in for a ride and not just anyone. I mean, this is VIP, it's not regular. So, yes, get your notepads and pens ready. So, yeah, meet our facilitator, Seun Olagunju-Lana is the Executive Director of the Development School Africa, a school she founded to harness the growing population of youths in Africa towards addressing global challenges within their own communities. This school has brought together over 420 youths from 7 African countries, equipping them with education to become social innovators for sustainable development. And with over 6 years of cross-border work experience, our professional background includes active engagement with organizations like the Office of the Vice President in Nigeria, the UN Youth Envoy, Peace First, the World Economic Forum, Global Shapers Community, among others, to design forward-thinking educational and developmental initiatives for youth across African countries. She has disbursed over $43,000 to fund youth-led social innovations and impacted more than 3,000 beneficiaries through direct programming access to various communities in sub-Saharan Africa. Our professional aspirations center on championing youth-led solutions to Africa's development challenges through education and policy advocacy. Seun's commitment to sustainable development in Africa has earned her several recognitions, and in 2019, Leading Ladies Africa featured her as a young change maker driving transformation at the grassroots level in Africa. The following year, she was honored as a United People Global Sustainability Leader in Nigeria, and in 2021, the Young African Leaders Initiatives recognized her among the 30 most influential women in youth leadership. In 2023, she was recognized by TEDx Oluyole as one of the 50 most inspiring women in social development and by Guardians as one of Nigeria's 20 iconic youths. Shehu is a member of the International Society of Sustainability Professionals and a 2023 World Economic Forum Global Shaper and a 2023 Global Youth Ambassador for the award. Ladies and gentlemen, with a warm round of applause if you can, or your most beautiful emojis, can you please make welcome Seun Olagunju-Lana? We're so happy to have you, ma'am.
Thank you, Esther. Thank you, everyone, for having me. I am very, 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 very happy to be here, particularly because, number one, the topic that you guys gave me to teach at this workshop is something that is so dear to my heart. And I know that I caught a little bit of the introduction when everybody was sharing their superpowers. And for me, I feel like one of my superpowers is the ability to explain the most complex things to like a 5-year-old. So I'm really hoping that you understand from everything that I've been teaching or that I will teach you in this workshop this evening. The second reason why I was happy to be here is because I know Esther, I know Dotun, I know a couple of people that are on this call. And backstory, the first time that I met these people, they made me feel like a superstar. Like they traveled all the way from Lautech in Ogbomoso to Lagos just because I was speaking somewhere and I didn't know how to act. Like I was like, are you for real? Are you guys serious? But I mean, thank you so much for the kind invitation. It's so nice to be here and to meet everyone. I possibly, because of time, I would like Esther to confirm how much time I have before I go on and on and on and on and talk. But how much time do I have? I'm not sure if Esther is still okay.
Yes, ma'am, I'm here. So you have 80 minutes.
80 minutes. Okay, great,
Yes.
great. All right. So I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who made it for this call. I can see quite a number of people. I may not be able to go through everyone, but I can see Falon, I can see Williams, Abraham, Wale, Temitayo, Aishat. I can see Femi Ayomide, Damilari, David, Dorcas, Elizabeth. So on a normal day, what I would have done would have been to, we're still going to go into the icebreaker segment, but I'd have asked that you guys introduce yourself, but I know you guys already did that. So I'm hoping that as we get into the workshop, you'd be able to tell me more about you, your interest, the businesses that you've started and every other thing that you're doing at the moment. So Excel, Faith, Faizat, Favor, Flourish, Igbogo. I'm not sure if that's your first name or your last name. Ibitayo Frances. There's an iPhone. I don't know who that is, but if you can rename yourself, that'd be great. I can see Joy. I can see Gloria. I can see Mosimi. I can see Nimi. Dotun. I can see Olaume. I can see Fumi. Shemiye. I can see Tosi. I think I've met Shemiye before as well. I think so. I'm not sure. I can see Peter. I can see Praise. Praise is my person. In fact, backstory, Praise also like volunteers with the development school, and it's just been very, very valuable and very useful to me personally. So I Praise. I can see Precious Gift. Of course, I know Precious Gift from Instagram. I can see Righteousness Steven. Okay, yeah. So that some people will not say I didn't call their name. There's somebody called the Lamp. I don't know who that is. Is that your real name? I can see Victoria, I can see Zeno, and there's one Redmi Note 9. I know that's not your real name. So if you can please rename yourself. So welcome. I'm going to be sharing my screen very shortly. So Esther, if you can allow me share my screen, it's telling me that the host has disabled participant screen sharing. You can make me host or
All right, ma'am, I'm on it.
okay.
You done now?
Yes, I'm the host now, so I can share now. Can you see my screen?
Yes, very well.
Okay, great. So I know some people have their hands up. Folao and Williams. Has your hand been up since, or is it in relation to this workshop that we're about to start? Please let me know if you have a question or anything. You could just raise your hand. So today we're going to be looking at a topic called understanding the SDGs, and I know that for some of us on this call, the SDGs are not new to us. Like we probably like have an idea of it. Judging by the introductions you guys made of yourselves anyway, some of you already introduced yourself to say, oh, I'm working SDG 1, I'm doing something SDG 2. So you already have an idea. But today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at it even more in-depthly. And most importantly, we're going to be seeing how you can align your projects and your businesses to the SDGs. So basically, the aim for this call, for this workshop is, if you're here and you have an idea to do something, maybe you have observed a problem in your communities, you want to address it, you're drawn to a particular problem, and you want to start doing something about it, and you've always heard, oh, SDGs, SDGs, SDGs. In fact, you're in this place where you're asking, what's so much ado about the SDGs? Like, why is everybody making noise about it? How can I begin to also position myself to say, I'm also doing something in this line? I'm really hoping that by the end of this workshop, you'd be able to understand them and you'll be able to say, oh, this is what I'm doing, and this is the SDG that it relates to. Right. So you already read my introduction, so I'm not going to do anything more than that. So, but this is me, and I'll be sharing my contact details with you after the class as well. So I want us to start by playing a game. It's a very simple game. It's a Kahoot game, and I always love it when I start my classes like this. So what I would ask you to do is, can you get another phone or another device that has internet? The reason is because you'll be needing your phone to look at my screen and see the questions, because I'm going to be projecting the questions here, but you'll be needing another phone so that you can quickly lock in your answers, right? So the game we're about to play, I'm stalling because I want you to find some time to find the phone. So the game we're about to play is a fastest finger kind of game. So you're going to be, I want to know who knows, of course, correct answers only as well. So it's not just by, oh, I'm fast. You also have to be able to lock in the correct answer at the fastest time possible. So if you're using Nine Mobile, I just want to apologize in advance because your internet might not work. But I mean, get a phone. Let me know in the chat if you already have. And after you've done that, let me pause and share what you would be putting on your phone. So when you get your phones and you go to your browser, go to www.kahoot.it. So Kahoot is spelled Kahoot. So www.kahoot.it. Please let me know if you've gotten a phone, and please let me know if you've already gone to kahoot.it. Are we there yet? I'm not hearing anyone and I can't see anything in the chat. So I don't know if you want me to still wait for you, or even if you guys can hear me.
I can hear you, ma'am. I think people are still trying to like get phones.
Okay.
Okay, we have a couple of responses already.
Okay, great. So I'm going to resume sharing my screen. Can you see the Kahoot screen? Can you see the Kahoot screen? Sorry, it's hard to read the chats as I am presenting.
Yes, we can.
All right, great. So when you go to kahoot.it, I want you to put the pin that you can see on my screen is what you're going to be entering into your phones. So the game pin is 744749. As you come on to this, I will see you on my screen. So right now I'm waiting for you guys. Nobody's here yet, so I'll just chill until we have quite a number of people. At the same time, I'm going to be making, okay, I can see Proshi. Yay, I can see you guys. So let's have more people. I think we have about 51 people on the call. So let's have a great number of people join this call. Esther, I want to make you co-host so that you can help with admitting people in. Oh,
All
I'm not
right,
sure.
ma'am. Thank you.
I can only make you host, so I don't want to lose my sharing records or my sharing privileges. So I'll just keep admitting people. All right, so I can see quite a number of people. Okay, we're 19 now. Yeah, let's keep coming. So this game is to test your knowledge before we go into the SDGs, the way we want to learn it in this workshop. This game is to test how well you know about it already, right? So yeah, let's see how we're gonna do. If you want us to wait for you, if you're still trying to join, please put it in the chat so that we know that we're going to be waiting. I will just count from 20 to 1 and then we'll start in 20 seconds. So 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15. Please get a phone. More people can join. More people can join. But if you're unable to join because of internet, you can always use the chat box to share your own answers, right? But it's more fun when we can join. So 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Great. So we have 22 people now. I'm going to be starting. I can see quite a number of people. Gracie, the Lamb, Olaumi, Aisha, Ayo. Everybody's on the call. Great. So let's, well, you guys are going to do. I'm starting now. So please look at the screen. I'll also be calling the answers. Question 1. Fastest finger, you lock it on your phone, and then I get to see who is leading who on the podium. So the first question says, in Africa, which SDG is responsible for addressing the air pollution that generators cause? Right? So option A is SDG 7, affordable and clean energy. Option B is SDG 13, climate action. Option C is SDG 14, life below water. And option D is life on land. 2 more seconds to go.
Hi, sorry, we can't see your screen.
You can't see my screen.
We can't see the questions on your screen. It just says an introduction to the SDGs.
And I was asking you guys if you could see the counts because I wasn't sure if you could. But let me share the questions now so you can see it. Can you see it now?
Yes, perfect.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Right now we have Debbie leading. I don't know who that is, but let's see if Debbie is still going to stay on top of the podium in a few seconds. So question 2 says, what is the target year for accomplishing the SDGs? By what year would the SDGs, should have been accomplished? Option A, 2030, option B, 2027, option C, 2040, and option D, 2035. Great. If you chose 2030, you're very correct. There were like 2 people that chose 2040 and another 3 that chose 2035. No, you're wrong. The right answer is 2030. So moving on. I don't want to show the podium, but Idon is leading the advanced debit to number 2. All right. So question 3 says, how many SDGs are there? This one is very simple. How many SDGs do we have? Option A, 15, B, 16, D, 18, C, 18, and then D, 17. 10 more seconds. This one is simple. Nobody should miss it. Okay, great. All right, so 21 of you got it. If you chose 17, you're very correct. However, if you chose 15, 16, or the 3, 1, 2 people that chose this, no, you guys are wrong. So moving on, let's move on. I don't want to show you guys the podium till we get to the end. Next question. In Africa, which SDG ensures that out of school children go to school? This one is very easy. It ensures out of school children go to school. SDG 2, SDG 10, SDG 6, SDG 4. If you chose SDG 4, you are very correct. SDG 4 is the SDG that talks about quality education, and we're going to be seeing that more very soon. I don't it's like this Idon is still leading. All right. The SDGs are also known as the what? What other name do we call the SDGs? A, the global goals, B, the MDGs, C, the global development goals, and D, Agenda 2031. Great. If you chose the global goals, you are very correct. The SDGs are also called the global goals. However, if you chose the global development goals, which almost everybody chose, you're wrong. It's not called the global development. It's called the sustainable development goals, but it's called the global goals for another name that is called. It's also called Agenda 2030, right? But that's not in the option. So moving on, I don't want to see the podium. Next question. Which of these did the SDGs replace? So before the SDGs, we had some goals. What were they called? The global goals, B, the MDGs, C, the Treaty of Versailles, and D, Agenda 2031. Wow, quite a number of you actually got this one. I'm very, very proud. If you chose the MDGs, it stands for the Millennium. Oh, well, don't let me say because I don't know if the answer. I think there's a question that asks that, so I won't say that. But if you chose the MDGs, you're right. Next question. Hey, they've already bounced it on that one. I can tell you for a fact. The MDGs stand for what? Hey, the Millennial Development Goals. I think I already gave it to Expo. B, the Millennium Development Goals, C, the Money Development Goals, and D, the Momo Development Goals. 2 seconds to go. Who still chose the millennial? After I gave you first pool, like you guys, if you chose the Millennium Development Goals, you're very right. Wait, there is still number one. Okay. Which organization was responsible for the development of the SDGs? Which organization developed the SDGs? A, the United Nations, B, the African Union, C, the United States of America, and D, the United Nations. Great. If you chose the United Nations, you are very wrong because there's no organization that is behind the United Nations. It is the United Nations with an S, and they were responsible for the development of the SDG. So moving on to the next question. Which SDG is responsible for addressing the challenge of traffic congestion? Too much traffic in Lagos, too much traffic in Ondo. What SDG addresses it? A, SDG 7, affordable and clean energy. B, industry, innovation and infrastructure. C, sustainable cities and communities. And D, peace, justice and strong institution. If you chose sustainable cities and communities, you're very correct. Any other answer is the wrong answer. Moving on. Next question. In Africa, which SDG is relevant to addressing the lack of enough doctors to patients? Right now, we don't have enough doctors to patients. So which problem is that and which SDG addresses it? A, good health and well-being. B, affordable and clean energy. C, climate action. And D, life on land. I was scared. I felt like if anybody had chosen the wrong answer, they'd be like, oh my God, this one is such a cheat. All right. No. The person that is leading is not the person that I think is the person. All right, next question. In Africa, which SDG addresses the problem of unemployment? A, no poverty. B, reduced inequalities. C, quality education. And D, decent work and economic growth. One more second. I understand why some people might choose no poverty, but the closest one that is actually addressing unemployment is the SDG that does decent work and economic growth. So, how many questions? I think I have 2 more questions to go. In Africa, which SDG addresses the challenge of poor sanitation? A, clean water and sanitation. B, sustainable cities and communities. C, life below water. And D, life on land. This one is also it's a steal. I mean, the answer is literally right there in your faces. 3 more seconds. 2 seconds to go. Right. Somebody who is the one? I'm interested in knowing who the one person that still chose. The answer was there. It's clean water and sanitation. So, last question before we look at the winners. In Africa, which SDG addresses the challenge of child marriage? Of course, you know, child marriage has to do with giving girls out at very early ages to older men. So, A, life below water. B, gender equality. C, life on land. And D, clean water and sanitation. 4 more seconds. Great. So if you chose gender equality, you're actually very, very correct. And we'll look at all of this very shortly. So now let's go to our podium and see who did second, third. Okay, in third place, we have TMA. In second place, we have Ido. And in first place, we have Esther. Can we give them a round of applause? Fourth runner-up, we have Fumi, and I think there's a dummy that took number 3. Don't worry, I'll share this with us so that you guys can see how you did on the podium. But I mean, congratulations to TMA, to Esther, and to Idon for leading our podium and collecting all of our medals in this session of Counts. So I'll stop sharing now so that we can go back to my slides. Great. Please let me know if you can now see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Yes.
All
Yes, we
right, great.
can.
Great. Give me a second. Please give me a second. I want to stop the...
Hello, ma'am. Kindly make me co-host so that I can help with that.
Yes, but I can't make you co-host for some reason. It's just asking me to make you host. So I don't want to also lose the privilege of my screen sharing. That's why I just stopped. I don't think that you enable the setting of making you like allowing co-host or something.
All right, thank you, ma'am. I'll check.
Okay. All right. Okay, so great. Now the next thing is if you can see the screen, you'd see a picture here. Please feel free to use the raise hand option and speak. I would like to hear your voices. I would like to hear what you think. But when you look at this picture, what problems can you identify just by looking at it? What problems jump at you just by looking at this picture that you can see here? So I would like for you to use the chat, but more than that, I would like to see if I could get a few hands raised so that I can take some people and have you speak. All right. So the first 2 people or 3 people that I can see on my screen, I can see Faith, I can see Idowu Ibitayo, and I can see Moses. So I'll just take the 3 of you. Let's start with Faith. So Faith, what problems can you see?
Okay. What I see here is low standard of living, and I don't know what day it is in this picture, but this boy should be in school by now.
It should be in school, actually. You're correct. It should be in school because if you look behind him, you can see another boy that it seems like he's wearing a school uniform. So, I mean, he's old enough. He should also be wearing a uniform and he should be in school. Okay. Idowu Ibitayo, be right. What problems can you see from this picture?
I can see poverty, hunger, because obviously the boys, the environment with the condition of the boy, I think poverty is one. Then another thing is the drainage system. I can see it's a poor sanitation because obviously I'm sure that this water will lead to a place where they consume water, so which can pollute the water. So I can say sanitation is another thing there that I can observe.
Yeah, absolutely. So sanitation is definitely a problem here. You mentioned hunger, you mentioned poverty. Moses Babarinde, what problems can you see from the screen?
Okay, the one thing I can see there is poor sanitation, as the person that talked before us said. We can see the drainage, we can see the debts and everything in there. The water is not clean, and the drainage itself is not the normal drainage, and it's, let's say there is a lot of rain now, a lot of downpour, so it can cause a problem. So that's the problem I see there.
You guys are all absolutely correct. When you look at this picture, you can see the problem of sanitation. Like, this is an environment where human beings should not be living. But in our communities today, we have people that live in this type of environment. I don't know where you guys live, but I'm sure that majority of us, we stay in our own homes, we stay in our own parents' houses. We're okay, we don't drink water from the street and whatnot. But in reality, we have people who live in this kind of environment. We have people who are growing up like this boy, who this environment to them is nothing new. For some of you, if they put you here, in one day you fall sick because you're not used to this kind of lifestyle. You know, you can catch cholera, you can catch diarrhea, you can just like get sick. But look at this boy, so comfortably standing beside this gutter, like, oh, this is my normal lifestyle. That's the reality for some people. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because before we can say, oh, I want to start a project, before we can say, oh, I want to build a business, before we can build anything, there has to first be a problem that we have first observed and that we've decided to solve, right? That's where it all starts from. And to understand the SDGs themselves, we have to first understand them from the problems that they are solving, because the SDG stands for the Sustainable Development Goals. And when you look at them, which we'll look at, you have to understand that the goals were created to solve certain problems. So what problems are they actually solving? And that's why we're doing this exercise, right? So when you look at this next picture, what problems can you identify from this picture? I know one person raised up her hand earlier. I couldn't call her. So if you would like to go for this round, you can share. What problems jump at you looking at this next picture? We can see something like a desert. That there's a young boy who is trying to fetch water from the ground and put it into his jerry can. So yeah, I can see Faith's hand is up. Because I already called Ido Ibitayo earlier, I won't call you now. So I'll call Faith, I'll call Damilola, and I'll call Flourish. So Faith, what problems can you see from this picture? Oh wait, Faith, I think I've called you before now. Did you not speak earlier?
Yeah, you did. You did.
Okay, because you've already unmuted, just speak, share what you want to share, and then Damilola and Flourish will go.
Okay. From what we see in the picture, clean water is something they don't have here. It's the whole thing is exposed, and I'm not sure even the jerry can is that clean. So.
Awesome. No, ginger can is obviously not clean, right? So, Damilola, what problems can you see from this picture?
Good evening, Ma. I can see that the boy is fetching dirty water. So the major problem here is dirty water. Okay.
In water and sanitation. How about you, Flourish? What problems can you see?
All right, good evening, everyone. The problems I can actually see from this video or from this is that there is poverty, and the problem again is clean water and sanitation. The water is not clean, there's no proper drainage, and there's no supply of water.
Awesome. You all are very correct. If you're rich, you won't be in this situation. So obviously there's an issue of poverty here, right? And you're wondering how come, because let me use Nigeria as a case study, because most of us here are Nigerians. We have really rich people in this country. Now, Nigeria is a poor country compared to the rest of the Western countries. We are relatively poor. Our GDP is low. We, economic wise, we're not doing very well. You guys can tell with the way the naira is always dropping as opposed to the dollar, right? So we're poor countries. But the whole idea of development, if you are here on this call and you like to become a development practitioner, the whole idea of development is studying and asking yourself questions around why are some nations rich and some nations poor? And even when you have nations that are poor, like Nigeria, you still have people within this country that are very rich, people that are flying on private jets, and all of those other people. And then you have people that are very poor, people like this who don't even have access to clean water and sanitation, and they always have to go and fetch water that they drink, from. I remember when I went to Bauchi for my youth service, when I finished from Ife, I finished from Obafemi Awolowo University, Ife, and I went to Bauchi for my youth service. And I remember I wanted to fetch water one day, and on normal day where I was raised, I don't even draw tap. Like, I don't draw water from the well. I would just go to my tap, open it, and the water will run, right? But I knew there was something called well because we had it in my grandpa's compound. But in Bauchi where I was, what they showed me is not a tap, is not a well. It was like something that I'm not sure you guys can relate with it, because I don't think anybody has seen it before, but you have to like use your hand and you have to be like pressing it. It was just it was just bad. And that was just an exposure into how other people live. So this picture is not AI generated. This picture is not something that we just said, oh, ChatGPT create a picture. This picture is somebody's real life and someone's reality, right? So moving on to the next picture, what problems can you see from this picture? I don't want us to be in so much haste to, oh, let's learn about the SDGs. We have to start from the problems because they are the very foundation. And you find out that the more you spend your time observing problems, asking yourself why these problems exist, asking yourself what causes this problem, what are the root causes, the more you have options on what solutions you can bring on board, right? So don't jump first into, oh, let me find a solution to bring on board before you even understand the problems that you are supposed to be solving in the first place. So I see one hand up, actually two, but I don't know if Moses' hand has been up since or is for this question. So, but I'm going to call Favor and I'm going to call, I saw Ido's hand up just now and then he dropped his hand again. So, but okay, yeah, your hand is up. So I can see your hand. I can see Nimi, I can see Damilola, and I can see Favor. So looking at this picture, just tell me one thing, because of time, one thing that you can see from this picture that is a problem. So I'll start with Favor.
Okay, good evening, ma. So one problem I can identify from this is early marriage. She doesn't look like she's like really, really like grown and old. So that's like a very outstanding problem for me.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Dami, what problem can you see?
I can see poverty in this case, ma'am.
You can see poverty as well. Awesome. Ido, what problem can you see?
I can see unwanted baby.
Unwanted pregnancy. Unwanted pregnancy.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing that. Nimi, what problem can you see?
Good evening, ma'am. I can see poor quality of life. Yeah.
Yeah, poor quality of life, poverty, etc. Whose other hand is raised? T.O. Ilesomi. What problem can you see?
I can see from this picture lack of basic health care.
That's true, actually. Now that you mentioned it, it wasn't one thing that you take from this picture before, but it's there as well. Moses, is your hand up for this picture?
No, no, no.
Okay, no. All right, great. So everybody's correct. This is a young girl that should not be married yet. We don't even know if she's married, but she has a baby. And she's not supposed to be a mother at this time. She does not look happy. She looks very sad. And the environment doesn't even look like where she should be living at the moment. She should be in school. So this is obviously a case of gender equality. And now, okay, I think that's all the pictures that we have. So let's move on into the class. So all these problems that exist in our world, they look like a lot, right? Like if I ask you guys now and I say, tell me about one problem you've identified within your own community, I'm sure there are so many things you can mention, from the lack of electricity to the poor state of our roads, to the poor state of our schools, to, you know, drainage system, kidnapping, insecurity in some parts of the country. There are just so many problems. And sometimes when you're talking about these problems, it gets overwhelming because you're like, problems gone. They're too much. They're just a lot. Like, you can be talking about one problem now. Before you know what's happening, you've entered on that problem, you've entered on that problem, you've entered on that, like, hey, this Nigeria, it does not look like anything can save us in this country. And which is, you know, kind of like the truth. But another truth is, or another fact is, all the problems that affect us in this country, in Africa, and even the world at large can actually be categorized into 17 things, which is what the United Nations decided to do when they came up with the goals. So the goals didn't just come up abruptly. They didn't just sit down and say, oh, we are the world leaders, let's formulate the goals, the SDGs. No, that's not where it came from. It came from our people are suffering. The world has so much problems, right? How do we solve these problems? So they came up with goals and then categorized everything into 17. And why have I said this? I've said this so that you can know that if you want to really understand the problems that are affecting your community or the problems affecting your world, you can study them from the SDGs. So instead of reading the SDGs as goals, you can say, oh, what problem is this particular SDG actually tackling in my own community, right? So moving on. So these are the 17. I won't read the 17th SDG because the 17th one has to do with partnership for the goals. So the problem that one is addressing is that if all of us want to solve these problems, we basically need to come together to do it, right? So I'll just talk about the first 16. So the first one is poverty. Now, when you're looking at the SDGs, it does not say poverty. What it will tell you is SDG 1 is no poverty. But the reason why there can be a goal called no poverty is because there is poverty in the first place, right? So the problem that SDG 1 is looking to solve is the problem of poverty. And now when I teach this, I always like us to look at it from our own society, like your own community. Is poverty something that you can relate with? Now, you may not be the one that is poor, but is it something that you can, like, for example, if I come now and I say SpaceX, not all of us can relate with SpaceX because it's not something that we see around us. Just a few of us, maybe you follow Elon Musk and stuff, you'll be able to say, okay, I know SpaceX. But poverty is something that, even if you're not the one that is directly affected by the problem, you at least know someone. The person might not be close to you, but you know at least someone that is poor. So poverty is an issue that you can relate with. So how exactly is poverty affecting your own community, right? You can pause. You can think about it after this class. How exactly is poverty affecting people within my community? Like, can they afford clothes? Are there people who still don't have houses to sleep? Are there people who still sleep under the bridge? When I am in a bus or I'm in a car, do I still have children who come and knock on the window begging for money? All of those things are our own realities, right? So the second goal or problem is hunger. Are there people who still beg for food because they cannot afford to grow or buy their own meals? See, I have been privileged. I feel like a lot of us on this call, we're all students, schooling. Most of us are privileged people. Privilege does not mean that your father is $30. Privilege does not mean that you have the richest parents. Just the fact that you can say, I'm hungry, and you can go and get food for yourself right now to eat. It's a privilege. There are some people who cannot. I remember I was driving home one day, and a young boy was knocking on my window, and I was looking at him to say, oh, I don't have any money to give you. I don't have any cash with me right now. I can't give you anything. The boy said, I don't want cash. Just give me that bottle of water that is beside you. He's a very young boy. Just said, just give me water. That was the only thing he asked for. And the water was not even something that, as in, I drank the water like it was bottled water. I drank it almost half. And this boy comes and says, just give me water. So for you to see that there are so many people who are still having so many problems aside from the one that you can currently relate with. So hunger is the second goal and the second problem that this goal is particularly solving. Now, the third problem I want us to ask ourselves is good health and well-being, or as a problem, lack of good health and well-being. Do the hospitals in your community have the best equipment to cater to sick people? Like, what are the state of hospitals right now around you? I have stories from this as well, like so many stories. But one of the things that is like the most shocking statistic that I read recently is that statistic that says, as it stands right now, we only have 3 doctors to 10,000 patients in Nigeria or in Africa. Now, that's a very shocking statistic. And you're asking yourself, where are all the doctors? The truth is they are leaving this country, right? I'm sure some of you already know that. Your doctor friends, they're all planning to go. It's not their fault, because the system there is treating them better for the years that they've used to read book. Imagine using all your life to read, and then you're coming to work in a government hospital where they don't even pay you well, like, right? And we saw the issue that happened recently with the elevator falling and one of the doctors dying. If you are a doctor, you won't want to stay in this country now. You want to go. So now all the doctors are leaving, but we still have people in the country that are falling sick. So to every 10,000 patients we have right now, we only have 3 doctors that can treat them. That's a shocking statistic. Beyond that, you're asking yourself, are doctors well paid? What's going on? I had a friend that died in 2019. She was stabbed in the neck by armed robbers, but she was still alive when she got to the hospital. She got to the hospital, and then the doctors were asking her, we need to see a police report before we can treat you, and so on and so forth. And then she died, right? So you're asking yourself, you're like, oh my gosh, what's the state of our hospitals like? like if somebody has a chronic disease now, can you bet that you're going to be treated well? The answer to that question is no. So obviously, this is obviously a problem that is affecting us in Nigeria. The next problem is lack of quality education. Now, education, I'm going to be saying a lot because I'm rushing through these things, right? But I will share these resources with you so that after the class, you guys can also go and read it on your own and do more research as well on all these problems. I am a firm believer that the more you understand a problem, the easier it is for you to say, oh, this is what I want to do to solve the problem. But if you don't understand the problem, you may not exactly, you just be like, what solution can I do? Everybody's doing this, let me also do it. But if you spend your own time trying to identify the problem, you would see that you say, oh, maybe I can do this, and you find more solutions to do to it, right? So quality education is not just in terms of, oh, I went to a private school, I went to a public school. There's a problem of access. Do people in your community in Nigeria right now have access to quality education? That's one. There's the question of relevance, like how relevant is the things that we are learning in our curriculum compared to what the whole world is learning outside of Nigeria. So if you put someone that studied in Lautech side by side with somebody who has gone to Yale or to Stanford, they studied exactly the same course. Can you say that the knowledge that was gained in both schools are exactly the same, in terms of how they see life, how they solve problems theoretically and practically? Is that it? And even university is far. Even our private schools, our secondary schools, our public schools, what are they teaching us right now in relation to what is going on in the world, right? So there's a problem of access. There's a problem of relevance. About 4 of them. But as of right now, I can only remember those 2. So quality education speaks not, okay, I think there's a problem of affordability. Like, how are you able to afford schooling? So even if some people go to private schools and some are like, oh, I can't afford this, and they go to public schools, can you assure that, the same experience, the same learning experience that my mates in private schools had is what I will have in public school as well? And a good example of this was what happened in 2020 when we had COVID. Because of COVID, so many people in private schools, for example, they continued with their studying because their school had the responsibility of coming up with ways that they can continue to learn. But then you have people that went to public schools and the government was just like, oh, we don't know what to do. Everybody's on standstill. And so you see your classmate that is in a private school going further ahead, and you, because you are in a public school, you are stuck because the government is up to the government to do something about when you should continue schooling, right? So quality education is obviously an issue. This is my own field. I play in the education sector, so that's why it's really personal to me. The next one is gender equality. So you're asking yourself right now, are there girls in your community? Are there girls around you? Are there families around you who still deny their girl child access to education just because, no reason, or just because these people are girls? Do you still hear things like, maybe you're on the road and somebody is driving bad, and then one man says, don't worry now, woman, they drive? Do you still hear all those kind of things? Have you ever been in a place before where you heard people say, this girl, she'll end up marrying now. Kitchen, that's where she'll be. Why do you need a master's? You don't need to. There are still families like that. There are so many other issues, female genital mutilation, so many other things affecting girls just because they're girls. So that is addressed under gender equality. The next one is lack of clean water and sanitation, which we've already seen in most of the pictures, so I will just skip that. The next one is affordable and clean energy. Actually, this one is affecting all of us because not only is energy not accessible, like as I'm talking to you now, they can take these lights. Energy is not something that you can rely on in Nigeria. It's not. And because of that, we are having to depend a lot on using fuel, using generator, using all of those things. So it's not even clean because we're inhaling carbon monoxide and so many other things. So some of you might be on this call and your own interest is towards the environment, it's towards climate action and all of those things. You know that this is the field that you're playing in. You know that these are some of the problems that you should be looking at, right? The next one is lack of decent jobs and economic growth. How many of you here, by show of hands, you can just raise your hand or you can put it in the chat. How many of you here have heard, the labor market is very full. There's no job. There are no jobs, compared to the number of students we have in university. So people are going to uni and they are scared that when I'm done with uni, where am I going to work? What am I going to do? Are there jobs? I'm sure so many of us have heard that before, right? So this is another problem that is plaguing us in Nigeria. And the bright side is it's not just Nigeria, it's actually the whole world. That's why we have this as the goals. So lack of decent work and economic growth. Decent work means that you can be very educated and yet the work you'll be doing and the education you received is not correlating. So the work is not decent. You are being underpaid, you're not being paid at all, and so on and so forth, right? And so as a result, the economic growth of the country is also declining. So that's a problem, and that's what this SDG is addressing. The next one is lack of infrastructure and innovation. I'm sure some of us on this call also have ideas. You have innovations, you want to create stuff, but do we have access to the resources that we need to be able to bring this thing to life? Imagine somebody like Elon Musk. I'm sorry I'm using him a lot. It's just his name is coming to mind a lot. He can wake up one day and say, oh, I want to shoot a rocket into space. He knows that he's in an environment where he can have that kind of idea and he can do it. He can wake up one day and say, I want to build a car that is not going to use fuel, it's going to use electricity. He has the luxury of doing that because he's in an environment where there's always light. But you as a Nigerian, you can have the idea, right? That, oh, I want to build a car that flies. But where would you get access to the resources to do it within your own immediate community? The fact that we are limited in that aspect shows that where innovation and infrastructure is concerned, where the resources we need to be able to do the work that we want to do is concerned, we don't have it in abundance, right? So that's what this particular SDG is addressing. The 10th one is inequalities. This one is very easy. Not everybody has access to equal opportunities. Even you that are on this call, you have access to more opportunities than some other people. So that's already is one of the SDGs. The 11th one is sustainable cities and communities. Now, sustainable cities and communities might sound like, oh, very bogus. I'll still explain all these things in detail, but please, Esther, I want you to keep me in check so that I know how to fly in case my time is already running out. Now, lack of sustainable cities and communities is... Thank you.
I sent you a message.
Oh, you already did?
Yeah.
I did not see it. So just tell me, how many minutes do I have left?
We have 35.
Okay, great. All right, great. So, I want to admit the people in the waiting room now. All right. So lack of sustainable cities and communities can look bogus, but it's actually not bogus. Let's use Lagos, for example. I know most of us are not in Lagos, but we might have been here before. Lagos is a very small city, very small. In fact, in Nigeria, Lagos might actually be the smallest city, maybe a little bigger than FCT, but it's very small compared to other states like Bauchi, like Niger and whatnot. But if you look at the population of people that are living in Lagos, we are more than the entire population of Ghana as a country. That's how populous Lagos is. Now, because there are so many people here, we are tasked with the responsibility of ensuring that these people have houses, they are safe and whatnot. So these sustainable cities and communities, like when you are building your cities, when you are building your communities, are you building them with sustainability in mind? It's not just, oh, because we want to build a house now, let's build it here. But when you're building your house, you're covering a drainage, meaning that when rain falls, water does not have anywhere to pass again because you've gone to go and build house there because you want to house people. So now you're housing people, but they will be flooded because you didn't build this house well, right? So that's what we mean by sustainable cities and communities. And so this is like, oh, you want to build your cities, you have to think about it in a way where you feel like you're building it sustainably. You are keeping your people safe, or people are kept safe when there's natural disasters. God forbid, though, we don't used to have natural disasters in Nigeria, maybe except from flooding. But imagine if something happens tomorrow, like a tornado or a hurricane. Have you ever thought about it before? Like, what's going to happen? I remember when they said Ebola was going to happen, for the longest time, I was so worried because I'm like, how do we want to survive in Nigeria? Ebola is spread by touching each other. And we will always touch. When you tell the conductor to give you change, you've touched. When you want to enter a bus, you've touched. So how won't we touch, right? So imagine if there's an announcement tomorrow that says there's going to be a hurricane, the way it happens in the United States. Do we think that we have the facilities to keep people safe here in Nigeria at the moment? The answer to that is no. The next question is irresponsible consumption and production. And trust me, this one does not just speak. In fact, all of us, we are responsible for this problem. We're all contributing to this problem. You know, when you eat something and you don't finish it, it's part of this irresponsible consumption and production. When you go to the market and somebody, let me use Chike, Chike comes to you and says, buy jeans, buy jeans, buy jeans, and you go and buy jeans. You don't need the jeans. In fact, you already have 20 jeans in your wardrobe. You don't need that jeans, but you bought it. You are responsible for this irresponsible consumption and production. What irresponsible consumption and production says is use exactly what you need. So if you don't need it, you don't need to use it, because you're going to end up wasting it. And when you waste it, where does it go to? Right? If you waste food, or you waste water, or you waste resources, where does it go to? There are so many other people that need it that cannot access it because you have wasted it when you know that you did not need it at that moment, right? So that's where this comes in. The next one is climate action. And I'm sure many people have read about it before, like climate action, what's the first about climate action? But the truth is, all of us like this, the reason why we can be on this call and the reason why we can be here where we are is because we are protected by the earth, right? So without the earth, we are nothing. There's nowhere to live. We cannot go and live in space. We don't exist if the earth is not in existence, right? And so we need to also protect our earth beyond the, oh, I am passionate about education. Me, I'm passionate about decent work. We all actually also have to be passionate about our environment, about the earth. You're asking yourself, when I drink table water, where do I throw my plastic? The answer to that is that your plastic is not recyclable, except for some people that actually recycle it now. So most of the time, these things end up inside the ocean, they end up inside water and whatnot. And then imagine that one cap on top of your plastic bottle. A fish will see it and swallow that cap. And then the next thing, the fish will die. So there are so many actions that we take right now that affect our environment as well. And for climate action, we are seeing people complain about, oh, there used to be water here, or there used to be a lake here, and this lake has dried up. We're seeing people say things like, oh, we used to have Amatan in October, but somehow it's coming in December. What's going on? It's because the climate is actually changing. Our atmosphere is actually thinning out. And one of the major contributors to it is the way we cut down trees. Like, we cut down trees because we want to build houses, but the trees help our environment because of what they take in and what they give to us, right? So the more trees we cut down, the more the environment is suffering for it, because there's nothing like nature anymore in that sense, right? So that's climate action. Now, problem 13, problem 14, problem 15 all speak to the environment. Life below water, life on land, and all. Life on land just says that we human beings are not the only living things that live on land. We have animals that live on land. We have trees that live on land. We have so many other plants and animals that are living things as well, and they live on land. So when you're thinking about life on land, you're not just thinking about yourself as a human being. You're not just thinking about your family alone. You're also looking at animals, and that's why you hear them come up and say, oh, these species are endangered and whatnot, because some people, that's the problem that they're actually solving. And then the 16th one is lack of peace, justice, and strong institution. So meaning that right now, there's no justice for the poor man. If something should happen to someone and they are crying out, we need justice, the chances that they will get it are very, very slim. And that's why we have so many people. Maybe someone on this call wants to be like, I want to study law, I want to be the voice of the just, I want to, be the just voice for the poor. I wanted to do all of that before. But we can't do anything when the system is capping us. So we have to fix the system first. So this particular problem speaks to that. Like, if you bribe a police officer now and you are a criminal, will they take the bribe and let you go scot-free? Those are some questions that we as young people, we need to begin to ask ourselves. When we ask ourselves this question, how does it relate to my community? What does this problem mean to my own community? How does this problem affect people within my own community? You would understand the concept of these problems even better. Now, I put a link here. It's called www.theglobalgoals.org.org. If you can, please go and read it. That's where I go to read about the global goals. Most of the things I know about the global goals, I learned it from reading this particular website. It's a very good resource for you. So I will highly recommend it, right? Now, because of time, I'm going to skip this part. I already spoke about the UN. You can read about them, but it's this organization that created the SDGs. And the UN is one organization, but it's a coming together of different world leaders. And I feel like what's most important for you to know here is our country, Nigeria, is one of the member states of the United Nations, right? So yeah. that is applicable. The next thing is the Millennium Development Goals, which you guys already know. So before the SDGs, they were the SDGs. Now, the MDGs rather. Now, the SDGs have a timeline. So when the UN and the world leaders came together and said, let's create some goals to solve all this problem that I've mentioned so far, they didn't just create the goals to solve the problem. They decided that they were going to put a timeline to it. So the SDGs have a timeline, which is from 2015 to 2030. So we have 15 years. Now, what year are we right now? We are in 2023. And the SDGs are supposed to be achieved by 2030. In your own honest opinion, all these problems that I have mentioned so far, do you think we have solved them? The answer is no, we've not. We still have poverty, we still have hunger, we still have quality, good health, we still have everything is still affecting us. So we are kind of like halfway through the SDGs. And so if you are very observant, if you follow the UN and you follow all these organizations, you see that there is this urgency that they now have, like, oh my God, where are we with achieving the SDGs? Are we there yet? Are we not there? And because of that, they are coming to also realize that young people, you and I, we have immense potential in being able to actualize the goals, right? So they are involving young people a lot in this work. And that's why I love what I do with the development school. It's kind of like introducing young people to this field, that the opportunities exist, but I need you guys to know that these opportunities are there. And that's why I'm happy that all of you are on this call, because it shows that you're on this path already, you're on this field, and they need you to also contribute to solving these problems and actualizing the goals as well, right? So before the SDGs, there was the MDGs, which was from 2015 to it was from 2000 to 2015. So when it was 2015 and they didn't achieve the MDGs, that's when they now created the SDGs, right, to 2030. So that's what you need to know about that. I'll share the slides afterwards, so you'll be able to read what the MDGs are and all of those other things. The only thing I'll say here, before I move on to the next slide, and I'll pause to see if anybody has any questions from what I've shared so far, is that all the problems I've mentioned to you earlier, including all the problems that you have probably identified in your own community as well, that maybe I didn't mention in the slides, all of those problems can be categorized into 3 major areas. Now, the areas include society, environment, and economy. And one of the assignments that I'm going to leave you with on this call is I'll ask you to go and study the SDGs, and I'll ask you to tell me what area does this SDG fall under. So for example, we talked about climate action, we talked about life on land, we talked about life below water, we talked about all of those things. Those particular SDGs are focused on environmental problems. They are solving problems that are affecting our environment. Now, if we don't have problems affecting our environment, then those problems are most likely affecting the economy or affecting society. Societal problems are problems that are affecting human beings, that are affecting the quality of our lives. For example, education, good health and well-being. People can't go to school. People don't have all of those things. You know, those ones, people are hungry. Those ones are societal problems. So if you're here and your own project or your business is more focused towards that area, then you should know that you're solving societal problems. If you're here and your own business or project is focused towards the environment or towards our planet, towards the earth, you know, green, climate action, then you should know that you are solving environmental problems. Now, if you are here and your own project or business is focused towards the growth of our country's economy, our GDP, in terms of, okay, decent work and economic growth, people have to have jobs, people have to be very well paid, we have to innovate, we have to create infrastructure for so and so, then you should know that the problems you're solving, they are economic in nature. Do we understand? I'll pause here before I speak too much. I'll see if anybody has any questions here, but please let me know in the chat if you can understand or you understand so far everything that I've already taught you. I'm trying to see the chat. Please let me know if you understand so far everything that you've been taught. And if anybody has any question, kindly raise your hand so that I can take your questions. Okay. Adewale says, I understand, ma'am. Thank you so much. Okay. Raimo says, I understand. Great. Most people understand. Just to confirm, Favor, Nimi, and Adewale, are your hands up to ask a question, or Adedoja? Are your hands up to ask a question, or your hands have just been up since? Favor. Okay, if your hands are up, not to ask a question, you can lower your hand so that I'm not confused. Esther, you just raised your hand. Do you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. I wanted to ask if you could quickly make me host for a while so that I'll just admit all the persons in the waiting room.
Yes, please.
Before you proceed. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Does anybody else have a question? Where's Esther? Okay. I think you've already reclaimed the host. Does anybody else have a question? Esther Uluwatosi, you are muted, right? Or you're muted. You have a question? Okay, no, I don't think you do. I can see you, Uluwatosi Esther. So I wanted to be sure if you had a question or not. All right. So, okay, Adedoja, please ask your question. You can unmute. Adedoja Adewale, feel free to ask your question. You can unmute now. I think David Adesonya's hand is also up. Idowu's hand is also up, and then Brimo's hand is up. So, Adedoja, are you available to speak now? Should I call somebody else? All right, so let's go to Brimo. You can unmute and ask your questions. Oh, you can't unmute. Esther, is there a reason why people cannot unmute? Like, did you mute everybody?
No, ma'am. They can unmute their mics.
Brimo, can you try to unmute? Let's see.
Hello.
Yes,
Can
yes,
you hear me?
please. Yes. I'm sorry. What's the correct pronunciation for your name? We can't hear you again. No, your mic is muted now.
Oh, my name is.
Am I the only one that didn't hear her?
No, I also didn't. I think the thing broke
Didn't
from
hear
my
her?
end.
Yes, we can, but it's breaking. Like we hear you and then we hear you again. Can you try again?
Oh, I'm sorry. It should be network. Can you
Okay.
hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I said my name is Omotesi. Ibrahim is my surname.
Oh, Omontesi. Okay, okay, go on. So please ask your question.
Okay, I'll just drop in the chat box, but I'll just explain. So I said like for littering, if someone wants to start a project on littering to just enlighten people about littering and the harmful effects, does it fall under like climate change or life on land? Because I think that's one area I've been really unclear about. Did you get my question?
Hello, ma'am.
Sorry, please, did you get my question or should I come again?
Oh, I think she probably has network issues. She's no longer on call for now.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right, no problem.
sorry about that. So while we
No
wait for her
problem.
to join the
Thank
call,
you.
we could just leave our questions in the chat box. So when she comes around, they'll be duly attended to. I'm already taking notes of the questions. So I trust we've been having a wonderful time so far. If you have been, can you just share one thing that you've held on to during the class? say one thing that stood out for you, or a new thing you learned, or something you love to implement very quickly. Can we do that? Flourish, are you trying to talk? If you're not, kindly mute your mic. Thank you. Okay, so I'm expecting our responses. We've been here for an hour and 30 minutes, so I believe that we must have learned one thing or the other. All right. Your name is not on display. I can just see the name of your phone, I guess, but use exactly what you need. That stood out for me. All right. I believe that you are attaching a meaning to that, and I'm glad that that stood out for you. Who else wants to share
Happy weekend, sir.
what stood out for them during the session?
Oh.
And just put it in the chat box or raise your hand so that I can call you. Okay, Flourish, do you want to share?
Guys, is this a joke?
I could just
Yes.
Oh, all right, please proceed. So sorry.
All right, good evening, everyone. Yeah,
Hi, good evening.
actually, tonight's meeting is so interesting, like very, very interesting, and everything stood out for me. But the fact that yeah, she mentioned something, and that was she said everything, every business, everything you are doing, like falls under one or two SDGs, and that is very, very true. Whether you want to be someone who wants to shift people's mindset, you want to cure poverty, anything whatsoever, anything you're trying to create is can actually be found under one or two SDGs, which means SDG is actually a powerful tool. Like it is a very, very powerful tool in our nation, like all over the world. It is a very, very powerful tool. So if we get conversant with the SDGs, which is the goals, we will actually do so well, even as individuals and collectively. Thank you so much.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for sharing, Flourish. Ido, you can share with us. Just unmute your mic and share with us.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I love to say I enjoy and I've learned a lot. I think I'll take it from where Floyd stopped. Actually, I'm very glad to learn that everything under SDGs can be captured under three uh, three themes. That is society, environment, and economy. And in fact, I've even developed acronyms for it, like SEE. So it's very wonderful and beautiful. I think the person that was asking a question, whether drainage or dirty water something, I think that should fall under environment if I could guess. So I think this is this is a very good thing. It's a very good thing. Honestly, I learned a lot. Beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. So, who else? I'm trying to pick someone. Okay, David. David, you can proceed to share.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. It's been wonderful so far. Got to know more about the SDG as a whole and the core issues, the problem, knowing the problems and tracing the problems, to the solution, understanding the problem, so you would have more better, can provide better solutions to the problems. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Yes, understanding the problem is what will help to develop better solutions. Thank you very much, Nimi.
All right. What stood out for me, what stood out for me ever since we started this is that the way that we were taught to look into areas of challenges up close, to have a like critical look into things. And there was a point where she was saying that we should not rush to give answer. And I felt like that stood out for me because it helped me to settle in my heart that, okay, for me to identify a particular challenge, sometimes I have to give it a critical look to be able to bring out the best of the best out of it. So that stood out for me. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing what you learned. And our facilitator is back. So sorry about the glitch, ma'am.
No worries. Oh, was it everybody that logged out?
No.
Or was
I
it
think
just
it
me?
was the network.
I think it's just me. I think it was my internet. Okay. Can you let me reshare my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
No worries.
Definitely. I'll do that now.
Okay, so please, I know I didn't take some of the questions from the answer worries, but if you could please put the questions in the chat, I'll just come back to it immediately after we run through. But one of the things I was saying to, I think it was Amontesi's question, was that the SDGs are not just like goals. Now, to each SDGs, there's something that we call the targets as well. So every SDG has a few targets under it, which you would see very shortly on my screen. Yes, so you can see here. SDG 1 says this is the photo that represents SDG 1. So wherever you see this picture, just know that, okay, this is SDG 1. It says no poverty. Now, for every SDG has its own targets, more like, oh, we've broken down this goal into even smaller goals. So when you as a person wants to start to align your project and your business to the SDGs, don't just stop at, oh, I've read all the 17 SDGs. Number 1 says no poverty, end poverty in all its forms. It's very vague. It's very abstract. So one thing you can do to ensure that you even understand the SDGs even better is that you then go and read the targets under each. So for example, under SDG 1, it says no poverty. Ensure that everyone in society is protected against things like unemployment and has access to support services like medical care. Everybody has social protection, including people that are very poor and people that are very vulnerable. Target 2 says, ensure that resources are allotted to implement social policies that help people who have less money to still have equal access to basic services. So if, for example, society recognizes that some people have more money than some other people, so ensure that you have policies in place that ensure that people who don't have a lot of money are still able to afford basic services, labor, land, technology, and everything else that they need, right? And then the third target says build the resilience of people with less money so that they are able to be better protected from climate-related events. Are you speaking to me? Can I go on?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry about that.
All right. Okay, great. So that's the third goal. So you now as an individual, let's say you're working in this field and you're saying, oh, I'm working with SDG 1, no poverty. No poverty could be very broad. So you think that all that there is about poverty is just to go and ensure that people in low-income communities have food. That's not all that no poverty covers. It also speaks to policy changes. It also speaks to ensuring that people that don't have so much money, they are protected from things like climate-related events and all of those things. Basically, you're just protecting people who don't have so much money, as other people, and ensuring that they also enjoy life the way people who have a lot of money are enjoying life. So if you have a business and you have let's say you have a business and you decide that the only people that you want to employ in your business right now, they are people who are differently abled. That's like people with disability. You are actually contributing to this goal because you are equipping, they are vulnerable people. They are people that are often overlooked. They are people that some people may not want to employ in their own place. But you say, I want to employ them and I'll be paying them salary. By doing that, you're ensuring that they have access to being able to pay for their own labor. They have access to being able to go to the hospital and pay by themselves because they're earning money by working in your business. So you have a business does not mean you're only creating jobs. You could actually be working to solve poverty in its own forms as well. Now, because of time, I may not be able to go into all of this, but one thing I've done is this slide, I have been able to put all the targets under each of the SDGs. So I would like for you to take your time and study it and read it. Now, to answer the question that I think it was Montese that asked that question about, was it climate action or life on land? So let's look at them as an example. So this is climate action, SDG 13. Now it says to achieve goal 13, the states have agreed to, these are the only two targets under SDG 13. And it says, the first target says, ensure that people are well prepared for hazards related to climate and natural disasters. So you're ensuring that people have adequate knowledge about these things, so that in case it happens, they're prepared for it. And then the second says, address climate change issues in government agendas and allocate resources to combat climate change. Now, there's that question of what is exactly causing climate change as well. Now, if you realize in your own work, now one of the things that might be causing climate change is pollution, then it could be a climate change problem, right? But from these two targets, it doesn't exactly say, oh, stop pollution or any of those things. Now, if you go to life on land, this one basically talks about other things on land aside from human beings. So you have trees, you have animals and all of that. But if you go to clean water and sanitation, which is here, where is it now? Yes, here. You may find that pollution is something that, for example, they said ensure that everybody has access to sanitation, including safe sewage disposal and public education on healthy hygiene habits. So if what you are trying to prevent is contamination, pollution, it might actually even be something under clean water and sanitation. So it's very easy, because if you read it, you see, oh, it's just clean water and sanitation, and what you're working on is not underwater. So that's not where it should be. But if you go and read the targets, you may now find out that, oh, it's actually under clean water and sanitation, that by reducing the amount of pollution that is on my street, I'm actually contributing to the sanitation of my society, of my community, and I'm working on that SDG 6, right? So there is that about that. So because of time, I may not be able to go, but I have been able to put all of this into the slides, and then I'll be sharing the slides with you afterwards. So Nimi's hand is raised. Nimi, do you have a question that you want to ask? You can unmute your mic.
Yes, ma, I have a question. So, so basically, I'll be asking the question based on my area of okay, let me just say I'm a mental health advocate.
Okay.
And I've seen that my work of advocacy, my passion falls into the SDG 3, which is but what I've seen is that, and which is a concern to me, is that the way mental health is put out there under SDG 3 is not as how physical health is emphasized. And so I've just tried to, I think I've just been doing a lot of work in trying to see the people that are
Can anybody else do hear me?
Issues that I have identified. There are mental health issues that I've identified, that I've seen, but at the same time, it really looks like it's not emphasized enough. So my question is, okay, how do I position myself in a situation whereby what we have more people doing under the SDG is physical health, HIV, like infectious disease, stuff like that. And so that's just my question.
Yes. So I like that question a lot. And I feel like one of the things that has really helped the mental health ecosystem right now is advocacy. Like, so many people are advocating for it, because prior to this time, people prioritize physical health more than mental health. And even now, people still, they are coming to the awareness of, oh, there's something called mental health, but we still don't know how to take it as seriously as it should be. But thankfully, we have quite a number of organizations that are bringing it to our awareness now, like the importance of prioritizing one's mental health and why it should also be taken seriously. Now, this is one thing I know about the SDGs. It's not cast in stone. In fact, there was a time that I was working to solve the issue of teenage pregnancies in my community, and it had to do with self-esteem. And because self-esteem is also quite it's a mental thing, right? It's not a physical thing. It was very hard for me to also place where it was under the SDGs. But one thing that I realized helps is every chance you get to call out the things you're doing, because we are the ones here. The people who created the SDGs are up there in New York. When we're in September now, there's something called the SDG Summit. They're going to be meeting in a couple of days again in New York, having all these summits. You're going to be seeing all of them in the UN talking and whatnot. But we're the ones here. We're the ones going through these problems. We're the ones observing these problems. We're the ones living in this reality. So if anyone should be advocating and letting them see that, oh, this is a problem I have identified and it's not covered in the SDGs, it should be us telling them that as well. So whatever platform you have, I'll tell you to continue doing the work you're doing. Still finding a way to align it with good health and well-being, because that's what you're solving. But at the same time, advocating for its inclusion or its better representation of it within the SDGs, so that it's also represented as much as physical health is, right? But I know that it's a health and well-being issue, and I know that there is now, for example, I'll leave in the chat a couple of organizations that you can follow. And these are people that have done work with the United Nations. These are people that have won the SDG Young Leader Awards and all of those things. And their work is focused on mental health. So I'll leave it in the chat for you. I don't know if you know her. She writes woman. So I just left it here. If you could check her out, I'm sure that by modeling our work, patterning it to what you do, you'd be able to find some answers there as well. So I hope that answers your question, Amy.
Yes, yes, you did answer my question.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I have another question though. So
okay,
with your years of experience and in the SDG thing, I want to ask that, okay, you mentioned that I should just, whatever platform that I have, I should just keep doing my advocacy work. So I want to ask that, with what you've seen so far, with what you know works and what does not work, what kind of platforms do you think works best?
okay.
Like works for advocacy work?
Okay, let me tell you, the major one is you joining a community that has like professionals that are working within your field. So let me use the medical field as an example, because we're talking about health and well-being. So there are some people right now that are, if you study medicine, they'll tell you to choose a specialization, like a specialty. So you can either choose, okay, I want to go into gynecology, I want to go into psychiatry, I want to go into neuroscience and all of those other things, right? So people that, so let's imagine that we're all medical students. We now have a community where all of us were in like a WhatsApp group or like a group or something. And then you're now asking, where are the psychiatrists in this group? They have their own group. So they have where they are. So when they're talking about issues that have to do with psychiatry, mental health and whatnot, that's where they are talking about it. Now, in this case, we may not be medical students, but people who also work in the field of mental health actually have communities. So I'm going to leave you with that work of identifying where are the communities where these people are. There are some communities that are generic. For example, Young Africans Leaders Initiative, YALI, Global Shapers Community, and some other communities like that. They are very generic, and what you find in those communities are change makers, people like you who just want to do something to change the world positively. But there are some communities that are specific to the problem that you're exactly solving, meaning that even though I am a member of Global Shapers and I'm a member of YALI and I'm a member of all those things, I will still go and join communities where you find people that are working on their education. I'll still go and join communities where you find people that are working on their education for sustainable development, because that's my community, right? And so when when opportunities come for advocacy, when the UN comes and says, oh, we need young people who can come and represent us here and there, they will first go to those communities to ask for representatives before they even come and put it out on social media, right? And because you asked about my own experience, I've also found that you can keep putting your work online, please do. You can keep putting it on Instagram, please do, but majority of the time they may not see it on your Instagram. Your audience will see it. Other people who are watching you will see it. And when the opportunity comes, they can recommend you for opportunities and whatnot because they've seen what you are putting out there. But if you're talking about, oh, how do you attract the attention of the people that work in the UN, those people may not see your Instagram, right? But doesn't mean you will stop putting out your work on Instagram or on your WhatsApp or on your other social media. If you get the opportunity to find your work published in a press house, in a media house, please put your work there. Like, just keep talking about it on all the platforms you can. Your LinkedIn, they are there, put it there as well. But they may not interact, they may not repost, they may not talk about it, they may not see it. So what you want to do is to identify what communities that people that work in this field actually are on. Is it a professional body? Do I have to take a course? Do I have to take a class? Whatever it is, just join those communities. And then from there, you're now kind of like getting closer to the inner circle colleagues. Do you get?
Yes, ma, I get. Thank you so much, ma'am. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. So I see Olawumi's hand raised. Olawumi, do you want to ask your question?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am. Thank you very much for taking us. I do not take this for granted. Yes, ma'am. I want to ask, how do we get people to actually partner with other people? Like, okay, the seventh scope is the partnership. How do we get people to actually see the need for partnership? And how do we help people help people? How do we help people that are actually rich help people that are poor in the society? How do we manage that?
All right, great. So there are two questions you asked. The first one is the partnership for the goals. How do we get people partnering? And then the second question is helping poor people. So for the partnership for the goals, it's a very broad one. Are you already running your own business or your own project?
No, ma'am. I am not. That's
Okay, you've not yet. So the question you want to ask now is, how do you, because this partnership for the goals, let me tell you, is like all the world leaders came together and they said, let's create some set of goals to solve the problems that are affecting the world, right? But they now realize that, oh, we can't do this on our own. What can we do in order to achieve these goals faster? So they said, oh, we have to create avenues for others to partner with us. And so in this case, they are looking for civil organizations, they're looking for young people like you, but you have to have had something that you're at least affiliated to, meaning that maybe you've identified a problem under infrastructure and innovation, for example, and you don't want to start your own NGO, you don't want to start your project, but because this is a problem that is dear to you, you then find other organizations that are working to solve it, and then you affiliate yourself to those organizations, either by being a volunteer or being a member or being a staff or being whatnot. So by doing that, you are now part of people who are solving the problem, and then you find that you're already in a way working in partnership with the world leaders and with the UN to achieving the goals, because they can't do it alone. Now, some opportunities may come where they would need to work within your area of your localization, and they'll say, which organizations are working around here? And then they'll find yours, or they'll find you just because you are there already, and then you'll be able to work with them. But if those opportunities do not come, at least you take joy in the fact that the work you're doing is in partnership with the UN, because everybody, in fact, most of us here, we're working in partnership with the UN. If you already have something you're doing, you're actually working on that SDG 17, because everybody is working towards achieving the same thing. And we've come to that place where we realize that our governments cannot do it alone. And so whatever it is you're doing, even if what you're doing is like you're pouring a little bucket of water inside the ocean, is still something, and little by little, we'll all get there. So that's like partnership on one level. The second level is now you have started something and you're now looking for other people to come and partner with you. When you want people to partner with you, it's very important for you to have a very clear ask. What do I mean by clear ask? It means that you have the exact thing you want this particular organization to come and do for you. So, for example, let's say what you want to do is you want to create an awareness around sanitary health, and you need menstrual pads. And so you want to write to Always, that's P&G, to partner with you. When you're writing to them, you have to write to them with a clear ask. Oh, my name is this, I represent this organization, this is what we do, this is what we are doing, and this is why we think you can come on board as a partner. So that why, you use the opportunity to then tell them this is what we need. We need 40 cartons of sanitary pads for our project, right? So you don't want to appear to people that you want to partner with as though you don't know what you're doing. You want to present yourself to them like, I know what I'm doing and I know the exact reason why I need you. And as you're thinking about why you need them, you also have to think about what you are giving to them in return. Why should they come on board your project? Oh, it aligns with their CSR project. So it's like they already have a goal to doing this. We are going to implement it for them and we can come together and achieve that in partnership. Or they already have this problem, we have the solution, then let's come together to fix it. Or they already have the people, we have the funding, then let's come together to do something, right? So partnerships should be beneficial as well. So I've already explained it in two ways. Either you working with the UN and world leaders to partner for the goals, or you already have something you're doing and you're looking for people to partner with you on, right? And then for the second question about poverty, I'll just tell you that the way most of us are approaching poverty in this part of the world is very, very wrong and very unsustainable. So it's not enough to say, oh, these people need food, just go and give them food. Little by little, you can do that, but the very next day when you go there, you see them again begging for the same food, right? And so what you want to do is not to enable people to keep begging or to keep asking. What you want to do is to create an environment where people can actually innovate and make their own resources or grow their own resources or create funding. But I won't give you a one-cut answer to that question because each community has its own peculiar differences. So what I'll ask you to do, we didn't go into that in this course. Maybe the next time you guys invite me, I'll come and teach you how to do that one. But what I'll ask you to do is the problem you've identified, take it and then break it to say, okay, poverty is a problem, right? Why is there poverty in your own community? By the time you ask that question up to like 5 times, you should be able to have a root cause. So when you get to the root cause, you can then say, okay, this is the root cause of poverty within my own community. So let's say it's lack of education, let's say it's lack of jobs, let's say it's lack of whatever it is. You then know that, okay, if it's lack of jobs, I need to start maybe partnering with organizations and having them employ people so that we can reduce the rate of poverty within my community. So it's very broad and it's very peculiar to your own community. So if you can do that, ask, find the root causes, then you'll be able to know what solution it is that you can portray to that particular thing. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. Just one more question. I intended to join CDS about a month ago, and I could not because I think they were looking for a specific job description or yes, a specific description. So how do I join CDS as a volunteer or a team member?
Okay, I think you can join the Young Africans in Development Network. That one is open and is open to anyone. It's kind of like our learning community. So we would share opportunities with you via email. We share resources with you, and if there's any opportunity to work with us as well, we share those via email as well. So could you send TDS Africa a message on Instagram, and then you'll follow up with you and send you the link to joining the ad network.
Yes, okay, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am.
All right, I'll see if I can also drop the link here in the chat before I go. They will be right. What's your question?
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Actually, I have a question that I want answers to. Like it has been battling my mind now. The question is this. Personally, I'm a core member, and the community where I serve, I discovered that the problem they have mostly is the energy problem, and I have a solution for it that can solve the energy problem, especially cooking and the electricity. So the problem is, I have a solution that I can develop a biogas system, train them how to use it, and the resources is all over the place because we use a waste, like waste food, fruit, rice, anything waste as a substrate. We call it substrate to generate this the energy. But the problem I've been kicking my head against the wall for days now. Like I just want to know. I mean, how do I start this thing? How do I get sponsor? Whom do I meet? Do I go alone? Do I start with a proposal? I mean, a lot of questions have been battling my mind. I don't know the way out. Like seriously, I just want to know what can I do in that case?
Okay, great. That's a very fantastic question. First of all, don't go and be knocking your head on the wall. Just take it easy, take it one step at a time. It looks like you've already identified the problem, right? And it's something that burdens you, and you know exactly what to do in terms of a solution. Now, what you want to do is you want to, I mean, the first thing when the first person earlier, I told her that she should kind of write the problem you want to solve somewhere and break it down into why. I think you already have that. So you have your problem. Now, the next thing is you're asking yourself, what is the desired alternative that I want to achieve with this problem? So let's say the problem is, in the example you gave now, is the issue of energy. People don't use clean energy and whatnot. So what's the desired alternative? That's like, what's the solution that you want to bring to the table, or what would you like to see in that community before you leave, before you stop serving? So if you write that down, the next question is then asking yourself, how can I achieve this thing? Now that how, you're not really breaking it down into, I have some tools I can share with you, honestly, because I used to work at Peace First as regional manager for Sub-Saharan Africa. We had all these tools where we used to help people create an actual project that they could do with as little as $250, which Peace First used to give as a grant at the time, although they have stopped now. But they used to give grants as like 250,000, which is now, I mean, in today's economy, 250,000 naira is $250,000 is like almost 250,000 naira. But when I did my project with them, it was like almost 90K or thereabouts. So with 90K, I was able to execute my project, and many other people had that same funding and they were able to execute their projects as well. But beyond that, we also now add templates we give people. So you've identified the problem. The next thing is, what's the desired alternative? The next thing you're asking yourself is, how do I achieve this desired alternative? So once you have like, okay, how? Okay, I need to let's say desired alternative is clean energy. Okay, I need to get clean energy into this community. How? We can do this by I wish I taught you guys this, but I didn't. I'm trying to summarize this. I know Esther knows what I'm talking about, because there's something called the problem and solution tree. But let's just assume that you ask yourself those questions and then you come with a certain list of potential solutions that you want to do. The next thing you then ask yourself is, who are the people that I can do this thing with? So sometimes it does not just have to be you alone who is implementing that solution. There can be other people around you who can come and bring their strength to the things you want to do. So your own strength is in ideation, your own strength is in visioning, your own strength is in I know the problem and I know the solution. For some other people, their own strength is finances. They actually have the money to give you. For some other people, their own strength is partnership. They know how to talk to people for you. For some other people, they have a wide social media influence, so they can talk about this your project. So you can build a team, a small team of people, and just tell them, this is the problem, or would you like to do something about it? So once they say yes, you already have a team, right? The next thing is, you're now looking for people within your community who are affected by the problem you want to solve, and saying, who amongst these people have some sort of influence that can also help me in achieving this particular solution. It's because you don't want to be seen as the savior. You want to see it as, I partnered with the community. And you have people like that. There are some people that are like family heads. There are some people that are leading churches and mosques. There are some people that are like the area boys of that community, but they have influence, right? So aside from your team, you also want to look at people within the community affected by the problem, but who have some sort of influence. And the reason is because if you need a space, let's say you need a field to teach people how to begin to use these raw materials to create energy, because you don't have the money to go and rent it all, you don't know which of these community heads can say, oh, I have a space, come and use my church, or come and use my mosque, or come and use the space where we used to play football in the community. There can be somebody like that that has those kind of influence. So you want to think about it that, okay, who are the people affected by them? And then the next thing you want to do is then list out the resources that you need to achieve your goal. So let's say you already have your goals. These are the things I want to achieve. Then what are the resources you need? Oh, I need a hall. Oh, I need this. I need that. List them out. How much will they cost? List them out. So you have a figure. And that way, if you meet anybody, you can say, oh, I need you to give me $1,000, because that's the exact amount I need to implement this thing in the community. But even at that, you can now look at that list and then say, which of these things do I not need to buy that I can actually borrow? or which of these things do I not need to borrow that I can actually rent or get for free safe. And because you are now able to analyze those things because you've already listed them out. But right now they are still just an idea in your head. So it's very hard for you to say, this is how much I need, these are the things I need to buy, these are the things I need to get. But if you can just break them down to who are the people that can work with me, what are the people I can work with within the community, what are the resources I need, what's my budget, then you can begin to ask yourself questions around what do I need to buy, what do I need to rent, what can I borrow, who can I work with, where can I get it from, and all of that. Do you understand? I would share the resources with you to build your project, and I'll see if I can find a couple of organizations that might be giving grants as well. But you could, without a grant, you could even start from where you are. I hope that answers your question.
Satisfactorily.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you do.
Awesome. That's great. I think that I'll just take questions in the next rounds I have because we're already done. Adedoja, can you unmute now so you can ask your question?
Okay, good evening.
Good
Yeah,
evening.
thank you so much. Okay, so my first question is that the SDGs are not only for Nigeria, they are
Yes.
for the member countries of the United Nations. So
Yes.
if Nigeria is unable to achieve the SDGs and the other countries or most of the countries do, can we still say that the SDG is a win?
No, it's not a win. It's not a win until everybody has achieved it. So the way it usually works in development is every country, like now this SDG summit they have in November, when they come together, they have to come and give an account or to say, your own country, where are you? Your own country, where are you? Your own country, where are you? And so if a particular country is struggling to achieve and other countries are not struggling, at that point, they can ask for help to say, oh, my country is struggling to achieve the SDGs. And then the UN can say, okay, what does your country need? You're like, oh, we need funding. We need you guys to help us. We need that. And then the UN releases those funds, or other countries that are doing very well and can afford to help can then help out, right? But in this case, I can tell you for a fact that no country is achieving the SDGs the way they want to achieve. Everybody is still far behind. Some countries can look like they are, while some countries are still very, very much in the back, like Nigeria is. And I remember we had a meeting with UN in Nigeria recently, and the man we met on the call was saying that Nigeria is still far behind. But that's why they need us. We still have like 7 more years to achieving this thing. So by the time we get closer and closer, we can then say, okay, Nigeria actually was really behind. But just to answer your question, right now, all the countries are still behind. But in the event where they all achieve it and Nigeria doesn't, we can't say the SDGs were a win because not all the countries that signed the treaty to achieving it actually did achieve it, right? But they usually have all these meetings. They have several meetings, several summits within the year. Aside from the SDG summit, they have the goalkeeper summit. They have so many. So they usually would come together to brainstorm and say, where are we? What can we do? And do you need help? Just so that no country is left behind in the implementation of the SDGs. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. But sorry, I have another question.
Okay.
This is the last one. Okay, so now I noticed that many organizations that are working towards achieving a particular SDG, they are usually either focused on Nigeria or focused on Africa. So now, what if I want to the SDG the problem I want to solve in a particular SDGs, I want to solve it in all the country in the entire world. Like, is there a problem with that? Why is everybody only focused on Nigeria or Africa? And what if you don't want to do that? Is there something wrong with that?
No. There's nothing wrong with it. But you ask, the question you want to ask is, first of all, the reason why most people focus on Nigeria, Africa is because this is where we are. So it's easier for you to address a problem that you are very close to than to say, oh, I want to address a problem affecting the entire world. I want to address a problem that is affecting them in Kyrgyzstan. Like, okay, where do you want to start from? Do you know somebody there? Do you always go there every week? That's like the kind of questions you want to ask yourself. So you don't have to limit yourself to just Nigeria alone or to just Africa alone, but you want to ensure that the problem is something that you can easily access. Because to solve problems, you have to interact with the people that are affected by the problem. To solve problem, you have to go to the place where the problem is and try to understand the pain points of the people who are affected by this problem. So if you are not there, if you are trying to solve a problem in the United States, you don't have a US visa, you don't have people there, you don't have any US audience following you on social media, how exactly do you want to solve that particular problem? So I guess that's why people just feel it's easier to solve problems where they are closer to you. Find that people that focus on Africa, they also have access to traveling to the countries in Africa, or at least they have an audience following them who are from these countries, and they can easily leverage on those relationships to solve those problems there as well. So to answer your question, you don't have to put yourself in a box, but at the same time, it's easier to solve a problem that you are closer to, so that when you're telling the story or you want to ideate the solution, you know that, okay, because I'm closer to this problem, it's easier for me to get on my data, on my statistics, or my facts. But the farther you are from a problem, the more detached you are as an individual who is trying to solve it, except you have a team there that is helping you. So if you have a team there that is helping you, then you're good to go. Do you understand?
Yes, I do. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. All right. So the last hand that I see up is Embaphon Igbogo. I don't know if I got the pronunciation right. So when you're on mute, tell me how you pronounce your name, and then you can ask your question.
Good evening, ma. It's pronounced Hembafan Ibogo, and it's evening.
Okay, Hembafan. Okay, so which one is your first name?
Hembafan.
Hembafan. Okay, great. So
Okay,
what's your
so my
question?
question, okay, I've been a bit confused. I've heard a lot of people talk about how if you want to work on the SDGs, it's a lot wiser if you find an area of concentration that's,
Okay.
yes, like a particular SDG where you can focus all your energy. And it doesn't really work for me because I see a lot of things that I can do. Like I have a lot of ideas for different kinds of projects, and so I don't really know. What do you think about that?
Okay. I used to also be a generalist, like a development generalist, and I just used to work on the different problems as I find them. But this is from my own experience. Honestly, if you study the CV of people like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala and those people that work in development, you find that their experience span across multiple things. So again, don't put yourself in a box and say, oh, even though I'm drawn to this problem, let me only focus on this. No. But one thing I'll tell you is, in all that you're doing, journal your experiences, journal your work, document your work. And the reason why I'm saying that is because eventually you get to a point where you need to scale your work, you need to access knowledge on a global scale. Let's assume you want to go for your master's and you're trying to apply for a scholarship like Shivnin and whatnot. When you're writing those essays, or when you're trying to position yourself, it will be very hard to reconcile somebody who does several things, because they'll be like, okay, so what course do you want to go and study in school? Gone, because you do a lot. You're just everywhere. Or what scholar, like when you want to, what identity do you want to leave them with? Are you a climate activist? You're still the same person that works in education. You're also the same person that works in infrastructure and innovation. So what's your identity exactly? So it doesn't mean you should not work in these areas, but make sure you document and journal your work, so that at the end of the day, when you find yourself in situations like that, you're able to trace back everything you've done, and you're able to tell a story from everything that ties into one thing. So if at the end of the day, the identity you want to portray is, I'm just a development practitioner, I work across all the fields, you're able to then say, okay, but my portfolio cuts across education to decent jobs to gender equality and whatnot. And if you, depending on what you're applying for, if the story you want to tell is on gender equality, you're able to look at the things you've done in that field and present that, right? If what you're working on is climate change, you're able to look at what you've done in that field to present that. So I won't tell you to put yourself in a box, but I would tell you from experience to just document and journal your work, so that when you get to a point where you have to present an identity to someone or to something, or you need to tell a story, or you need to access something, a fellowship, a scholarship and whatnot, you need to tell a story of what you've done, everything will still make sense as one, and you're not seen as somebody who is just all over the place. Do you understand? I hope that answers your
I
question.
do.
All right, great. So I think that
But
goes for everybody here. Okay, go on.
Sorry to cut you short. Just to follow up that, when you say document, what exactly do you mean?
What I mean is just take stock. If you have to have a Google Doc, if it is a Google Doc you have, if it's a book you are using, whatever, but just take stock of the work you're doing. So for example, 2019, I did this, I did that, I did this, I volunteered with this. Some people use their CV, some people use their resumes, but a lot of people don't document. They just leave it, like it's just in their head. So when you now get to the point where you need to present the evidence of your work, it's very hard to trace back something that you kept in your memory, because your memory, you can't really bank on it for too long. You remember, but you don't remember in details. You remember, but you can't really remember the figure. You can't remember the date it happened and so many other things. So let's assume you do a particular work today. You can easily just put that in a journal somewhere that, okay, I did this work. These were the skills that I used in doing the work. These were the lessons that I learned from doing this work. These were the skills that I picked up from doing this work. You can just put that somewhere. It could be on a Google Doc, it could be on a Google. I'm saying this to you because I'm also in that phase where I'm having to go and trace back all the work I've done since 2019, and I'm putting them on a Google Doc now as a journal. Like I'm putting everything down from 2019 to, I said 2019, from 2016 to 2017 to 2018, 2019, I'm having to go back to put everything somewhere so that when I come across a question or I come across something, I can easily go to that journal and say, okay, for this question now, how can I use these experiences that I've had to answer this question? What can I draw from? Which year can I draw from? And all of those things. So that's what I mean. It doesn't have to be something, it doesn't have to be technical. Just make sure you put them somewhere so that you can always have somewhere to fall back to when you need to draw on those evidence.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so that's the last question that we're going to be taking from everybody. I have I don't know if we're all here, and I hope that we learned something. So I'll share the slides with us, and I'll just leave us with this question before I pass it back to Esther. Go and study the goals, go and study their targets, and just ask yourself your own work and your own business, which of these goals do they fall under, right? And how can you begin to then align your work more to the SDGs for more impact? Like let's assume that what you do is clean energy now. And from before now, you've always just said, oh, my work is on creating something energy and whatnot. How can you begin to talk about your work the way that world leaders talk about the problem that they are solving? Because you're also solving the same problem, right? So how can you begin to use the same language to talk about your work so that you can position yourself, more globally? So those are the two things I'll leave you with. The assignments, feel free to do those things. And yeah, if you ever follow the development school, maybe one of these days when you have everything together, you can send it to me through our Instagram page. It's here, it's tds.africa. And this is my own Instagram page, which is just Seun Olagunju. And this is the email address for the development school, which is developmentschool@gmail.com. So if you ever put your thoughts together or anything, you could always send it to me to help you cross-check them. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you're on the right track, or you're good to go, and all of that. So thank you all for having me. Esther, I'll just pass it back to you now.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for this amazing session. I feel amazing is actually an understatement. And if you agree with me on that, please, can you just unmute your mic and say, thank you, ma'am?
Thank
Or
you.
drop it in
Thank
the
you,
chat
Thank
box.
you,
thank
ma'am.
you, thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very
It's been
much.
Thank you so
educative. Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. It's been a really wonderful time, and a lot of things stood out for me. Journaling to keep track of your progress, and learning about the language to use to also help to position position each and every one of us as the global leaders that we are, right? Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks for your time and for teaching us from your wealth of experience. It's been an interesting ride, really. Thank you so much. So please follow the Development School Africa on Instagram. You have a whole lot to learn from there, and also the youth the young Africans in development. I think Praise left the link on the chat box. Yes, I'll be posting it again, or you can just like trace the responses. So yes, and you can also follow her at Seun Olagunju on Instagram. Yeah, so thank you for staying up till now. And I'm really sorry about the glitches that we had in between, but I'm glad that we had a wonderful time overall. So yes, look forward to other amazing topics because yeah, this is like a series, right? And when she was talking about other parts of understanding the SDGs, design thinking, innovations, like moving from ideas to impact, right? We'll be having all of these topics from professionals in the global space, in the development space. And trust me, you are in for a wonderful ride with the SDGs Innovation Workshop. So thank you for joining in tonight. And I'm rooting for you. I wish you great success in your work and in your businesses. So yes, cheers. And please share what you learned. I'll be opening the group. Share what you learned from the session on the group. You can also share it on Instagram and tag me at the Esther Ade. Thank you very much. Take good care. Bye. Cheers to impact.
Bye, everyone. Good night.
I'm sorry, I should thank my friends. Thank you so much, guys, for always showing up. Thank you, Praise. Thank you, Mercy. Thank you, Covenant. Dotsun, Steven. Thank you so much for your help and to everyone that helped with publicity. You all are the real MVPs. Have a wonderful night rest. Bye. And thank you so much, Mom.
You're welcome, Esther. Good night, everyone. Bye.